ladies. Welcome to our show tonight. We have a special guest co-host with us, Mrs. Kimmy Gessler, and she is here. I asked her a couple of weeks ago because if you know her from Facebook, which I'm sure a lot of you do, know her from Facebook and social media, you've seen that she's experienced a lot of pregnancy losses in her life, and I wanted her to come on here to kind of share her story with you and also to offer encouragement and hope for those of you that are facing recurrent miscarriages and things. So let's introduce her. You want to say hi?
Hi.
There she is. And Kimmy, go ahead and let's, take as long as you need. This is your time. I want you to kind of tell the women your story. You can start back as far as you want, and just give us as many details as you're comfortable with, or what you want to share. So the floor is yours. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and what you've been through in the last, quite a while, I guess. I don't know how many years, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I have two sets of twin girls, that I spontaneously conceived. So, they were just a blessing. And actually, after my second set of girls, I had my tubes tied. And, and then we got saved a couple years later. And then, I started listening to preaching and that, and then learned that, we shouldn't be preventing having children. And then at the same time, I also, really regretted that decision and really wanted to have more children. So a friend of mine I knew had her tubes reversed. And so it was successful. She had other children afterwards. It was, she went to a lady Baptist doctor in Tennessee. And so I did the same thing. I flew out to Tennessee. I met with the lady doctor, and she did a reversal of the tube tie. And she said it was beautiful, that everything looked perfect, that I had a 99% chance of, having more children, and she didn't see any problems at all. And so, we did that. And so I conceived about 3 months after that. Everything was going well. So, just normal beginning pregnancy stuff. We were excited. We told everybody. And right around 6 weeks, I lost that pregnancy. And, I thought, okay, well, that's common. Women go through this, that's not that big of a deal. And we'll get through it and we'll try again. So we waited, it took, let's see, that was in January of 2011. And it took until about August of 2011 to conceive again. So, we figured, okay, well, everything will be fine now. And we told everybody, and we were really excited. And right around 6-7 weeks, I lost that baby too. And so it's been like that for 12 pregnancies. We've lost 12 since 2011. And it's all about the same thing. It's, I get to right before 8 weeks, sometimes a little less, and then it's just gone. So I've had a lot of testing done. I've had surgeries done. I've had exploratory surgeries done. And, I've gone to specialists and, done all sorts of things, and they just don't have an answer for why that's happening. And they can't find anything wrong with me. I've had tests done on my tubes to see, if it's a problem from that surgery. And they said that they don't see anything wrong, that everything looks perfect. And so it's just unexplainable at this point, and
So
yeah.
Did you have your tubes tied after your two sets of twins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had a C-section with the second set.
Okay.
And then they did the ligation at that time. So, and then it was, so I had the surgery to reverse it about 3.5 or 4 years after that.
Okay.
So it wasn't even done very long. And yeah, so I mean, I've even discussed, talked to the surgeon who did the surgery, and she even can't understand why, we haven't had babies or why the losses happen. So we just don't know.
And does it take you a while to get pregnant with each one between miscarriages?
So I kind of went back and looked, and I think I get pregnant on average about every 6 to 9 months. So it doesn't take very long.
Hmm.
And we really haven't struggled with not being able to get pregnant. It's just being able to stay pregnant.
Right.
I've tried a lot of things to try and, progesterone treatments and, like taking baby aspirin or different supplements, to maybe try and change the outcome. But so far, I've been unsuccessful with those.
Hmm. So had you had a miscarriage before?
No.
Okay, so just
No.
since
So
your approval.
I had only been pregnant 2 times before. I had my oldest girls when I was 19, so they're 20 now, and then I had my younger girls when I was 26. And yeah, both times they were very, for being twin pregnancies, there were no complications. They're very easy, both full term, so there were no problems at all before.
So how old are you now? If you
I'm
don't mind.
39.
39?
39. Yeah.
Okay, so you're like a year older than me. So have you noticed with your age, are your doctors are still willing to work with you, or are they like giving you a hard time because you are considered an older mother? How do you
Yeah, I
feel?
don't think my age has necessarily been um, really been discussed. They did do some testing to see the health of my eggs, and that specialist did say they're getting older, but I mean that would make sense.
Hmm. Yeah. All right, so that is your story, 12 losses. My kids were asking me how many that you had had, and I said I thought it was 11 or 12. So that's heartbreaking. I've only had 2 missed miscarriages and then a very, very early one as far as I know. Like as early as I got 2 positive pregnancy tests, and then 2 days later I was bleeding.
Okay.
So, a super, super early, which I think they call those chemical pregnancies or something.
I hate that term.
I know. I don't like it. It makes it sound like it's like a fake pregnancy or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I don't like that term either. So those, my losses were more like I said, I had the 2 missed miscarriages, and those all happened around 9-10 weeks. So I've never really gone the route where I've gone to 6 weeks and then miscarried. My body likes to hang on to it. So most times the baby dies around 6 weeks, but then I hang on to it until 9 or 10 when we discover there's no heartbeat and everything. So, and then I have to go through the whole process of either going naturally, my body getting rid of it, or this last one I had the DNC because I had done it naturally one time before and it was awful. So with your miscarriages at 6 weeks, do you have to go through the whole like process of labor and cramping and all that too?
So some have been worse than others. There have been some that, that are more like the chemical pregnancy, where maybe I'll get a test and then maybe a few days later, a week later, I start bleeding.
Mhm.
Those ones are usually not painful. The ones that go further, the ones that are closer to the 7-8 week mark, those ones are hard. Those ones are painful. With the cramping and all that. Yeah, some are definitely more painful than others.
Right. That's hard. So, we're gonna try to offer some encouragement for those experiencing repeated loss because the one thing that I've noticed, both Leslie and I had noticed when we started this channel, is on a weekly basis we are there's women reaching out to us that are either one they cannot conceive or two they are having repeated losses. Obviously maybe not some have had as many as 12, but we will have women that have had 2 or 3 in a row, and they're just wanting some kind of encouragement and some kind of hope. So the whole show tonight is to offer encouragement to those of you that are going through repeated loss. And one of the things that you need to remember is, just keeping faith. And can you talk a little bit about that, about how to keep your faith during, all the losses?
Yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily something that I struggle with a lot, like maybe like losing faith. I feel like I try to make sure that each time I go into a new pregnancy that I'm excited and thankful. And because I just don't know, if this is going to be the one. So I don't want to go into it being unthankful. And, I think throughout all of this, maybe my faith in God has increased. And I don't even know really how to explain that it has. But I think we need to, you need to make sure that you're doing whatever you can not to become bitter, because that will, impact your faith a lot. And there's something that I recently started showing, teaching my younger girls that, when we get to a point where we're going through something really hard, and it has no explanation and it really hurts us, that we should try to serve God more when we get to that point, and that really will help comfort us. And I think people want to draw back when they're going through hard things, and they want to, maybe stop going to church or stop talking to their friends or not do the things they were doing. And I think that's the worst thing you can do. When we're going through something hard, we need our friends and our family, and our friends at church. And so we just don't hold back. Don't stop doing what you're doing, because that's just going to make it worse. It really is going to have a huge impact on your faith. And you should know that God loves you, and he doesn't want us to go through hard things. I don't think he wants us to go through bad things. And I have a list of scriptures that I've committed to memory, like 6 or 7 scriptures. And I try to say those, when I'm going through these hard times, because it just reminds me that God does care about us, and he does care when we go through these things, and that we should reach out to him.
Hmm. No, that's good. And I don't know. I've been through some hard times in my life as far as losing people that I love. And one thing that I've never really done is I've never blamed God, or just let bitterness take root. I don't know if it's part of being a Christian, and like we put in your outline further on, just knowing where they're at, knowing that they're in heaven, knowing that you'll see them again. I know that's a huge comfort. But I realize that we live in a sin sick world, and many of the problems that we face is not necessarily God just saying, "Oh, I want Kimmy to go through this trial." I'm going to throw this at her, and I want Cassandra to go through this. And there are things that God teaches us through life. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of the bad things is just directly related to living in a world full of sickness and cancer and man-made things that God necessarily didn't do. So I think that's one thing. A lot of people try to blame God or whatever, but you just got to realize we live in a fallen world. And the thing with me is that I don't know about you. Like you said, you've never really struggled with it, but I could feel God being with me every step of the way and comforting me. And like you said, with the verses and his word, that brings a lot of comfort. And what is something that you do, just not, what do you do? Do you have to actively try not to let bitterness take root? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I do allow myself a couple days to be really upset, because
Right?
it's just natural, to be upset. And one thing that I personally do that I think helps me is I make sure that I attend every baby shower that I can. And I know that probably sounds, backward, because why would I want to go see, someone else excited about their baby when I lost my baby? But, I think that helps me, you know, um, because babies are a blessing, and they are, it's a joyous occasion, and, those women are excited. And, I like to make gifts for the babies. So I think every woman that's had a baby at my church since I've attended there, I've made her something for her baby or for herself, and that's just something I personally do. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that, but I think being involved in other women having babies really helps. And then, talking to other women who are going through the same thing. I have a friend who's lost 11 or 14 pregnancies. I can't remember which, and hers were later. Hers were mostly second trimester.
Mm,
So she did have 2 children. In between all of that, she did have 2 children, but she was such a huge help to me. She's always been a huge help to me, because she really was the only person that understood. So when there's a woman going through something like that, I usually reach out and offer, if you need to talk, or if, I understand, because I mean, unless you've gone through it, you don't understand. you can try to understand or, but I mean, it's just like with anything. If you haven't gone through it, you can be sympathetic and caring and helpful, but it's just not the same.
I almost wonder, sometimes I've thought to myself, I wonder if I've gone through certain things in my life so I can be a help to other women. I don't know. Maybe that's just, I don't know if you've ever thought that, but I have definitely thought that, because you're right. You don't know, you don't understand the pain of it until you've been through it. So I never really understood the pain of it until, just emotionally, physically, until I had been through it, once or twice. So that is very true. So how does it, when you're going through a miscarriage, what are some ways that it affects your family? Can you just talk about, I mean, how has your husband dealt with the repeated losses?
Well, for the first few, I didn't even, and I don't know, maybe it was just me being selfish, but I didn't even like consider his feelings. Like I didn't, even think maybe this is affecting him too. It just seemed like maybe, it was just happening to me. And once, I can't remember at which one that I kind of realized like, oh, he's going through this too. This is hard on him too. But
Mhm.
he has cried a couple times for a couple, and I think it's hard for our husbands because they're excited too. But not only are they losing that, they're watching their wife. He's watching me go through this, and it's hard. And I think they don't know what to do sometimes. And but they also lost the hope of a new baby. They also went through this loss with you, and my children have gone through the pain of it too. I mean, they've been excited for new siblings, and then seen how this is affected me or affected our lives, and so I'm sure it's also hard on them.
I know it was, I was thinking about it. It was really sad when I was pregnant. Allie is my daughter. She's my 8-year-old, and she's my one that's just super dramatic and like worries about everything. She's a hypochondriac at 8 years old. And when I was pregnant with the baby, I miscarried. We had told the kids at Christmas, and then I ended up miscarrying in January. So then when I found out in May I was pregnant with Kelly, it was really sad because the whole pregnancy, like every week, she would be like, "Mom, is Kelly?" Because, well, especially after we found out that she was a girl and her name was going to be Kelly, she would say, "Mom, is Kelly all right? Is Kelly going to die?" And it was like she had that worry the whole pregnancy, and it made me feel so bad. And then just the other day, we were sitting in the, it was like 2 mornings ago, we were sitting in the living room, and I was talking about our cat that we had given to my in-laws, whose name is Callie. And so Callie and Kelly sound alike. And I was saying that I hoped with the cold snap, she was out in their barn. I would hope with the cold snap that she didn't die. And Lana started crying, my 4-year-old, and she's like, "I don't want Kelly to die."
Oh,
Talking about the baby. And I was like, "No, not Callie. Callie's not going to die. Callie, the cat." It was just really sad. We were like, "Oh, poor Lana." So they're so, because the kids do, from the moment that you tell them that you're pregnant, they're attached. That's going to be their sibling. They're attached to that baby. And that, we would go, I would get past a certain point. Like I would get into the second trimester with Kelly, and the kids would be like, "Okay, is she going to be okay now? You're not going to miscarry, right?" So that's always in the back of their head too. And it's hard on the kids, and it is a test in trusting God as well. And I kept trying to tell them, we cannot worry about it all the time, especially with Allie. You can't worry about it. We're just going to pray, and we're going to put it in God's hands. And so it's a good lesson for them to learn too. So, and I'm sure your kids are the same way.
Yeah. One of my younger girls, Emily, is I think takes it harder maybe than any of the other ones did. She always I could see her pray a lot, during the times when I am pregnant. And so yeah, I do wonder that if that might shake her faith some, and I hope it doesn't. So,
Hmm.
I always debate on whether or not I want to tell them, but I mean it's kind of hard to keep it a secret in a house full of people. So
Right. It is hard. My kids found out with Kelly. My daughter had my old phone, and my email was still synced up with it. and I was getting those pregnancy updates. And so one came through and it was like, congratulations, you're 5 weeks pregnant. And my daughter saw the email. So then,
Yeah.
of course, she went and told all her siblings. And so I came home, I was running errands, and my oldest son asked me, he's like, Mom, does the number 5 mean anything to you? You're 5 weeks pregnant. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And then he said, we got the email, Mom, 5 weeks pregnant. And I'm like, oh, so that ruined the surprise for all that. So you're right. They're going to find out.
Yeah.
They're going to find out about it, definitely. But I know with my husband, with my first miscarriage, after we had found out that the baby was dead and everything, and there was no heartbeat, we were on the way home, or we were on the way to pick up my kids. My in-laws had him, and he did. We both were crying then. And then with the second one, I ended up finding out, and I went right into a DNC. And so he had to leave work early and come there and be with me. And I could tell, he was very sad about it. And then too, I think part of it is just seeing us go through the pain. I know that really bothers men, because, they want to help their wives and they just don't really know what to do. So someone asked on the chat, what advice would you give to women? What is a way that they can comfort someone going through a miscarriage?
Well, I think just to be there for them. If they want to talk, to let them talk, to give them a hug. I think sometimes women don't know what to say to other, when someone's going through that. You get a lot of I'm sorry's or I'm praying for you. And really, I'm praying for you is very comforting. I know some of the ladies in my church have given me cards or, baked cookies or something like that. And that's just really sweet. Not that I expect, anyone to do anything, but, just be careful what you say.
Yeah.
Don't say anything that, might be, oh, well, you have other children, or, oh, you can try again. And, I think sometimes people say things without thinking or without realizing how it might come across. But, I'm sorry, I'm praying for you. Those are nice, and if she does want to talk, then, let her talk. And yeah, if she's someone that enjoys hugs,
Yeah.
you can give her a hug.
Be like a pat. Oh, I'm sorry for so sorry. One arm hug. Be fine. No, yeah, those are good. You do have to be careful what you say. I don't know. People think they might be helping if they're like, God is in control. We know he's in control.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be super spiritual. Just like you said, just a simple I'm praying, and I'm really sorry that you're going through this. It's good to kind of leave it simple and leave it at that. So definitely. But let's go over, if you're dealing with repeated loss, what are some things that you can do? And I really liked one of the things that you said. You have to allow yourself time to grieve, and you have to be able to mourn. And don't feel bad if you if you just need to stay home for a week and cry. So what are some ways that you have dealt with the grief in the past?
I pray a lot. And I have to cry. I mean, I think that's just a way to let out a lot of, feelings, and it's helpful. The Psalms are really helpful. I have like 5 or 6 verses, that I've memorized too, that I go over and over, doing stuff with my children, and I think sometimes, women are afraid to grieve when they've lost a baby, because this world we live in thinks, they think pregnancies aren't really babies. And
Mm-hmm.
so someone who's pregnant, it is a baby. And from the minute you're pregnant, you're imagining or you're planning what you're going to do with that child and who that child's going to be, and when they're going to be born, and if they're going to be a boy or a girl. So it's not just the loss of the pregnancy, it's a loss of the dream of that person's whole life. And so that's difficult. You need to let yourself be upset. And sometimes even the grief extends for quite a while. You may be fine, and then all of a sudden you're just not fine anymore for a day or so, and that's okay too. But this in the Psalms, there's just so much comfort there. That's a a really great book for when you're going through hard times.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I do too is I don't let myself dwell on bad memories or, because, I don't know how you are when it comes to thinking about bad things that have happened in your life, but you just get this pit in your stomach and you just, especially late at night, if you're laying there and your husband's snoring and you can't sleep and you're laying there with all these thoughts running through your head, I have to be really careful late at night because that's when my mind kind of wanders back to the bad moments of my life, like when I lost my dad when I was 17 and when I lost one of my best friends. And then as I'm going through my best friend's funeral, I'm having the miscarriage and bleeding profusely. And it's, when I start dwelling on those bad times of my life is when I get really down. And that mood might linger, into the next day if I allow it to. So I just really have to bring my thoughts into captivity. And that's different though than just grieving.
Mhm.
You do need to be able to grieve and you do need to be able to cry and things like that. There's a difference between grieving and then just moping or dwelling on the
Mhm.
bad moments in your life. So, but yeah, I don't know if you ever do that, but that's tough for me. I have to be careful.
Yeah, yeah. I think late nights are the worst anyway. Yes, you can just
Yes,
think about even all the things you did that day that you wish you hadn't done. So
yes, the mom guilt.
yes.
Oh, the mom guilt. And everyone watching, I know every mom has mom guilt, and it's always late at night that you're thinking about it. Like, I am such a terrible mother. I didn't do this. I did do this. I yelled at my kids. I burnt supper. You just got to bring your thoughts into captivity. Definitely. So, have you ever, this is something that I've done with mine, and I've tried to do it for a couple of my friends that have also had miscarriages. Do you ever buy anything to remember the baby by?
No, I haven't done that, um, and I have thought about it. I've thought about maybe making some sort of a quilt or something, maybe as a memory. And but no, I actually have not done that, and I feel like for me that would probably be harder. Um,
Mm,
just to see that. My friend that helped me through, with a lot of, with the one who had all the losses, she actually did a photograph like scrapbook type thing where she has something for each baby she lost. She has the sonogram picture and maybe an outfit, and she did a whole photography series from each baby with the baby's name and the things, and it actually was published on like some famous news. I can't remember which news channel it was, but yeah, so that was something she did, but that is not something I've ever done. And like, yeah, like I said, I think that would be harder for me just to see it. I think that would bring it back and it would just be too difficult.
yeah, I think it depends just on what your personality type is, if that was good for you. My friend Erica, my best friend Erica, that I've been friends with her since I was 12. She's lost 6 or 7, I believe. And one thing that she does, first of all, she has an amazing memory when it comes to dates. She remembers every single date that she lost the
Mhm.
baby on, which that amazes me because I don't remember dates at all. Do you remember your dates?
I don't necessarily remember specific dates, although I have them written down.
Okay.
But I can't. I mean, there are some that yes, I do remember that exact date. The very first one and the second one. And then the last one, since it was so recent, it was just in December, so it wasn't
Mhm.
that long ago. But yeah, there are some that I do not remember the dates.
Okay. Yeah, she remembers every single day, and she'll kind of have a down day. Every time one of those dates rolls around, she'll kind of have a down day, which that's fine. And one thing that she has done is she has keepsakes for every single one of them, and she's named all of them.
Mhm.
So I think she named all of them A names. So they all start with A's. And for me, I don't know. I don't like naming the baby unless I know what sex it is. I don't
Mhm.
know. That's just not been something that would help me, I don't think. But one thing that does help me is just a little memento. So for
Mhm.
my first one, I got a little heart, and then it had the little tiny feet on it that it would have been, I'd miscarried around 10 weeks. So it kind of had like how big they were at 10 weeks. And then June was the month that I miscarried that one. So I had the month and then the year, and then I had the little birth, like the little birth stone on it. So that was for my first one. And then for my second one, Erica got me, she got me another memento, like momentum. How do you say that? Memento? Whatever it is. She got me a necklace with the baby's, what would have been the birthstone, and then just a couple other things. Like one, I think there's a Bible verse on it, and some little different things. So I have like 2 necklaces, and that's kind of my way to remember them by. So that kind of helps me, I think, move past it, just having something to remember them by. So, but whatever works, whatever is going to bring healing, to you. So I would say go for it. But so physical healing, do you allow yourself any time and how is it hard on you physically going through it all? And do you allow yourself time to physically heal from it?
Yeah, it is hard physically. I think there's a lot of hormones involved, and that just kind of makes things a little bit different than normal everyday life. And I'm not sure I necessarily, because mine are so early, that I really need a whole lot of physical healing aside from, just, trying to deal with the changing hormones and, that. So I personally don't think that I've gone through one that necessarily needs a lot of physical healing.
Now, do you, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but a lot of times doctors recommend waiting the 3 months to get pregnant again. Do you allow yourself time to wait, or do you just disregard that since it is so early that you have your miscarriages?
Yeah, I've never followed that rule. I think actually part of the emotional healing is, is being able to be with my husband. So, I've never followed the waiting rule, and I think maybe also too because it's just not that far. I think if we got into like a second trimester, um, pregnancy or something, then maybe I would consider that. But no, I haven't done that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know after my DNC, the doctor had recommended after this last one last year, she recommended to just wait the 3 months. But I found that my body, I don't even think I ovulated those 3 months. It was like my body knew that it needed to heal. And it wasn't actually until I started taking those conception pills that I've told you guys about that I finally did ovulate. And then 2 weeks later, I was pregnant. Well, I took the pills and I had 2 cycles within 2 weeks of each other, which my body never does that. And it was like it was getting everything worked out of my system. And then 2 weeks later after that, so a month after I started taking the pills, I was pregnant. I got pregnant then. So if, obviously, if you haven't heard about them, check them out. They're on Amazon. They're called Conception. And it's like, what is it, Vitex? I think Vitex is in it. And it's really good for helping cycles and just get you straightened out and things like that. And it's also good for conceiving. Heather Major, I told her about it. She has a really hard time conceiving. She goes a long time between children, obviously not using birth control or anything. And within a month of being on, it wasn't even a full bottle of being on those pills, she got pregnant with the one that she's pregnant with now. So, yep. So they do work for those of you that are not, have bad cycles or something. So are there any other supplements that you take? Do you take anything?
I actually take those conception pills. I think I'm on my 6th bottle, so I think a bottle lasts a month. So I think I've been taking them about 6 months. I did get pregnant and lose a pregnancy while taking them, but they've helped me in other ways. They've helped with I think helping balance out my hormone levels. They've helped with cramping during my cycles, so I'm taking them more for that reason.
Right.
I mean, if they do help me to be able to, keep a pregnancy, then that would be awesome. But yeah, I am taking those. I take them every day, and yeah, they've helped just a whole bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm. Those are good anyways, just because the vitamin B's and things in them. Vitamin B's are good for you. So And then too, if you do end up pregnant on them, I believe they have the good folate in them as well. So you'll have that at the beginning of your pregnancies if you do end up pregnant while you're taking them. So as far as emotional healing goes, one thing you need to remember is that if you are saved, and I know the majority of you watching are, you're going to see that baby, again in heaven. And, Kimmy knows that she's got a whole passel of children waiting for her when she gets to heaven. So that is a comfort. That definitely helps me be comforted. And I really wanted to touch on the, having hope for each new pregnancy, because I had someone email me and she said, I really hope that you touch on, how do you remain hopeful and how do you not struggle with fear during each of your pregnancies, and how are you happy? How are you happy that you're pregnant, knowing in the back of your mind that something could happen? And I know for you, Kimmy, I remember back when you were pregnant with the last one that you lost, you had posted that you were trying to find joy just in every day that you were carrying the baby still. And I thought that was very, very sweet. So what are some ways that you, find joy in each day that you still are pregnant?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're wanting to be pregnant, anytime you see pink lines show up on a test, you're automatically excited. That I'm always really excited when that happens, because it is a fresh start. It is another chance. It is, maybe this one will work out. But as far as, being fearful, I think it's hard not to be. I mean, I know we're not supposed to be, but I mean, if you've lost a baby or you've lost multiple babies, you lose your pregnancy innocence. That no longer is that pregnancy test mean you get a baby at the end. And
Right.
so I think probably for every pregnancy after that, there's still a little bit in the back of your mind where you're worried that this isn't going to work out. And I think that's inevitable. But I think if we spend the whole time, I know for myself, if I spend the whole time dreading what might happen, or being fearful that I'm going to lose this one, then I'm really missing out on the gift that God allowed me to have for as long as He allowed me to have it. And one thing I had told my pastor's wife, Joanne, and I think she kind of mentioned it when she was on the show, was that when we're trusting God with our family size, I think most of us go into that thinking, I'm trusting God, and He's going to give me 10 children or 12 children or 8 children, and I'm trusting Him to be able to help me cope with that. But the other side that I think we don't think about is that we're also trusting God with all the children He's not giving us, and the ones that maybe we just have for a little while. And I think that's also difficult, because we have to really put all of our trust in Him, that He knows what He's doing, and when He allows us to get pregnant, or no matter how long it lasts, that He really has given us a gift. And yeah, and if you are saved, you will see those babies again in heaven, and that's a huge comfort, because it's not just that it was lost, and it was for nothing. So
That is so good. I love that. Yes, she did touch on that when she was on the show. I love how she said that. And for me, worrying is, I've really had to work hard at controlling that. And like you said, I mean, I'm ashamed to say, even when I was pregnant with Kelly, I was worried about her getting here up until I pushed her out. I worried about it. I had a friend, she lost a son at 40 weeks. He was stillborn. He had the cord wrapped around his neck. And then she had to go through labor and delivery. And that's always playing in the back of my mind. Just that story. And I'm not a crier by nature, but the first time I saw her after she had lost her son, I just bawled. I just went up and hugged her and bawled, because that's one of my biggest fears, is going through something like that. And so I am ashamed to say, with Kelly, it was, I really struggled with not being afraid, because I was coming off of just two back-to-back miscarriages, the real early one, and then the D&C, which was really hard. And so I was coming off of that, and just the whole pregnancy, I really struggled not to be fearful. But like you said, I wanted to enjoy it too, and then as you get further along, and I remember I would be like, okay, I'm 26 weeks now, the baby has a chance for surviving now, it's like everything's a milestone. And, but I wanted to enjoy it. So I would try to push the fear away, but it was always just still kind of there. So someone asked, do you ever get, do you ever get discouraged and want to maybe stop trying to have one because you've lost so many?
Yes, every time I lose one. Every
Yeah.
time I lose one, I think I just can't go through this again. But I don't want to get to later in life where I can't have children anymore, where I'm past that point and wonder, what if I hadn't stopped? What if the next one would have been the one? So
Mm.
that keeps me from not stopping. And also, my husband is so sweet because he's never told me to stop. And so I really appreciate that, because I think he knows that I don't want to regret it later. I mean, I already have regrets, so I don't want to have more.
Mhm. That's good. I was wondering how your husband felt about it. I know for husbands, I would feel like I don't know how mine would be. I don't know. But, even though I had the two back to back, we were very excited when I got pregnant with Kelly and he was excited. We were both trying, obviously. So, he never had any reservations about that. But I would think it would be hard for them seeing you go through it again and again and again. And I would think that a part of them would want to say, because they love you and they're trying to protect you, maybe we should stop because, just seeing you go through the pain of that. At least I could see mine being that way. But but that is good that he's never, told you had to stop or, you know. Avery is in the chat, and I know Avery in real life. They visited our church a while ago, and she said, "So Avery, let me ask you if you're still on the chat. Have you had? I know when you visited, you had a couple children at the time. So have all your pregnancies since the children that we saw, have all your pregnancies since then been miscarriages? Because I know Avery had emailed me a couple months ago. I'll wait to see if she answers that question." But she had emailed me. And then also Awake All Ye Nations, you're on there too. And I know Awake All Ye Nations, they went through something very, very tough last year. They lost a baby. I believe in the second trimester, about halfway through, if I remember right. And I was wondering how you were doing as well, and if you had decided that you wanted to try again. I know they were fearful about also trying for another baby, just because 4.5 months she lost the baby. So have you, Awake All Ye Nations, have you decided if you're going to try to have another one, or are you still putting it off for now? Let's see if it's hard, but she's 39, so she's thinking it's too late. Well, 39 is not too late. I wouldn't think it's too late. Kimmy's 39. I'm 38, and I still feel pretty healthy. My last baby was my easiest. So, and she said, no, she can't. She's had 2 blood transfusions. So have you noticed if this has affected your health in any way, Kimmy, as far as overall health?
No, I mean, I always gain weight after, and I don't know if that's just because I'm sad, or I don't know what the reason is, but I think after each loss, I usually gain about 10 pounds. So I think that's kind of how I react to it. I do try to lose it afterward. So, but yeah, I don't know if that's just the way my body copes with it. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just me, being upset and eating things I shouldn't be eating.
Yeah. Self-soothing with food,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. And then Avery said it's been every other pregnancy. Her first pregnancy was a miscarriage, second healthy, third ectopic, fourth miscarriage. Okay. So I'll be praying for you, Avery, that you will have another one. I know Mrs. Gander, she's really hoping to conceive. And then Avery skipped. She said she skipped one, but yeah. So also, what are some ways that you can move forward? And I know you said you like to go to the baby showers. Oh, you know what? Let me touch on this real quick. Do you have an opinion about, we get this a lot too. Women ask what they should do or how should they come to terms with the fact that maybe they have gotten their tubes tied and they regret it now. and they feel guilt over it, but maybe they can't afford to get a reversal, or their husband says, no, that's it. We're not going to get a reversal. What would be your advice for women in that situation?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think when we make that decision to have our tubes tied, we're absolutely sure that this is what's best for us, and things change in our lives. And um, I think that with any decision we make, we just have to, realize and accept that we made that decision. And it is hard because, maybe the doctors have said that that's not what's affected my losses, but I feel like it probably is. And
Mhm.
so, it's just a deep pit of regret, and good or bad, we do reap what we sow. And I think, sometimes we make decisions earlier in our life that affect us later in life. And there's just not much we can do about it. But I think, um, just taking joy in the children you did get to have, um, be thankful for that, because there are some women who cannot have any children or who will not have any children. And, if you've had your tubes tied, obviously you've had some children. So just be glad and joyful and thankful for those children that you do have. And I think there was a point in time where I was so obsessed and focused on having another baby that I kind of didn't appreciate my kids, the ones that I already had. And I put more focus on, you know, trying to have another baby or thinking about having another baby. And, you know, um, don't let that be your focus. Don't make that an idol or something that you're constantly thinking about, because your other kids are already there and they need you to be present. They need you to be focused on them. So,
That's good advice. I know I've had women ask me that before, and there's some things I have strong opinions on, and I'll be glad to tell you. And then there's other things that I'm at a loss, and that's one of the things with the tubal, and that's one reason in my own life that I have. And this is not to heap guilt on those that have had it, but that's why I've never wanted to go through something that was permanent, just because I know me, and I love being pregnant and I love having children. And in fact, one of my midwives, I think it was after my fifth, no, my sixth, after Lana, she was um she was talking to me about getting a tubal, or asking if I wanted my tubes tied. And I was like, no, I've never been able to even, I know, entertain the thought of doing something permanent to my body like that. So, I would just say, for those of you that are, maybe you have serious health problems and the doctors have recommended a tubal, before you make that decision, like Kimmy said, you just have to realize that most of the time it is permanent. Most of the time you're not going to be able to afford getting it reversed. And, just be really, really careful going forward with that, and make sure that, you're okay with the consequences that will bring. So, and then, um, so you said also, with me, talking is good. I'm a talker, and it helps me when I'm able to talk about my losses and my experiences. That's why I write on the blog. I like writing about things. I like writing about the good things in my life. I like writing about the bad things in my life. That just kind of helps me move forward. Are you a talker in life with people at your church?
yeah, I think I'm a little more reserved, and I talk more with people who I'm more comfortable with. I'm not really a talker with everybody, but there are a couple ladies at my church who I do talk to and confide in when this happens, because they've either been through it or I just feel comfortable sharing with them. Um, I mean, I would talk to anyone about it who wanted to talk about it, because I don't. And I do share, like I usually share it on social media or something, and it's not, and I always wonder whether or not I should, because I'm not sharing because I want people to feel sorry for me or I want pity, but more just so maybe some other lady out there who's worried about sharing or has gone through this, that she'll know she's not alone, that she's not the only one going through it. And so that's the reason. Um but yeah, I'm not a huge talker about personal stuff with ladies I'm not real close with.
Yeah, I'm the same way, actually, with personal things. So, now I've never gotten the impression from you on social media that you're doing it because you want pity or you want people to feel sorry for you. I can see your intentions by sharing things. And I do think it is a help to other women because a lot of times women might feel like they're all alone and like no one else knows what they're going through. And just the fact that you're willing to share it, I think it shows other women that maybe you're going through the same thing, that they're not alone, because there's women all the time. I mean, just out of my Facebook friends in the last couple months, some of the announcements after they've made pregnancy announcement, they've already lost them. So there's women going through it all the time. What is how many pregnancies end in miscarriage? Is it 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 5? Do you know the statistics on that? I should have looked it out.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I think it's very common.
Yeah, it is very, very common. Awake All You Nations asked a question. She's asked it twice now, so I'm going to try to answer it, and you can answer it too. She said, I like diamond paintings. I don't know what that is. And I saw a wonderful picture of Jesus with a baby, which I used as a thumbnail. Would it be a sin to make that in his memory? Jesus' head is covered and his side shot. Would it be considered idolatry? I don't like any pictures of Jesus, but that's just my personal preference. So I don't like any pictures of him. Now I see nothing wrong with like hand pictures or something, hands holding a baby or hands holding something. But just the image of Jesus, I personally I don't like any in my house. But what are your thoughts on that, Kimmy?
No, I'm the same way. I don't have pictures of Jesus or make them or have them in my home. I don't. I don't want to have any picture of anything maybe that could be in heaven. I think there's scriptures about that. And you know what? Sorry, my dog's barking. Well, it might seem like a sweet sentiment. I think we're just not supposed to do that. So that's just my personal feeling about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we should have images of Jesus, but that's just something that you're going to have to. If you don't have that conviction, then you don't have that conviction. That's just, since you asked, that's just my personal opinion about it. But also, how when you have another pregnancy, leave it in God's hands, which we talked about. Don't obsess or worry about it, and try to be thankful and find joy. So, do you have the verses that you have listed? Do you have them do you have them memorized that you could share the verses that have helped you?
Yeah, I can give you the references for them. Is that what you want?
Yeah. Go ahead and give the references for them.
So 1 Thessalonians 5:18, 1 Peter 5:7, 2 Corinthians 12:9 and 10, Hebrews 13:5, let's see, Romans 8:28, Proverbs 3:5 and 6, Philippians 4:13, and Genesis 18:14.
What's the Genesis one?
That one is, it says, is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. And so, Sarah didn't believe that she could get pregnant in her age, and she did. So,
That's a cool verse. Now I know the last three. Romans 8:28 is everything working together for good, correct?
Yes.
And Proverbs 3:5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart.
Yes.
And then Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ. That one. I'm not sure of the other ones off the top of my head. But what is 1 Thessalonians 5:18?
Let me go there. Sorry. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you.
And then 1 Peter 5:7 is casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Yeah. And then 2 Corinthians, what is that one?
So I know the verses by heart, but not with their references. So hold on a second.
I'm horrible at references, so I know how that is. Hebrews 13:5, I'm looking that one up.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 Corinthians 12:9 and 10 is And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, and reproaches, in necessities, and persecutions, and distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
Very nice. And then Hebrews 13:5 is let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So those are all really good verses. I think my favorite was the Genesis one.
Yeah.
Really
I
cool.
just found that one recently. I thought, oh, that's so perfect. So
Have you heard the song Is Anything Too Hard for God? I think is what it's called.
yeah, I don't think I've I don't know. I don't know if I've heard that or not.
I think it's West Coast actually.
Okay.
We have some of their college CDs that they sing, and I think they're the ones that sing Is Anything Too Hard for God.
Okay.
It might be Trevor's College. It might be Golden State actually too. We have one of their college CDs, but I like college singing groups. And up until recently, West Coast wasn't horrible. We noticed with their last CD, they're getting a little more, the music is getting a little more like 7-Eleven-ish. You know what I'm talking? Like they repeat I don't know. It's this trendy way of singing. We noticed it's sounding a little bit more trendy. But Heil CDs are good to listen to. Any from their college, they're all still okay. And then Golden State also, they have some good college CDs with good music on it. But that's a really cool song. And I guess I didn't know that was, I mean, I've obviously read that verse before, but I didn't know that the song came from that verse. So that's really cool. So, is there any more advice in closing that you would like to offer women that are going through repeated miscarriages? Can you think of anything that maybe you missed? Anything you want to stress again?
I think you need to be nice to yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. It's not your fault. And so, I think, women are like that. We want to figure out what we did wrong, why it's our fault. It's just like the mom guilt, I did these horrible things, and my children are never going to forgive me. And, maybe if I hadn't done this, or maybe if I had done this different, maybe if I hadn't eaten that or drank that or, took a Tylenol or something, but, it's not our fault. So be nice to yourself.
Yeah, that's good. Jessica Seacrest asked, what are some things not to say? And we kind of went over that earlier, but definitely things like, well, you already have, just be thankful you already have children, I don't know. What are some things, I don't want to say, has anyone ever said that, what are some things people have said to you? Because then, especially if they're your church, what are some things though, just off the top of your head, what are some other things not to say?
I think you shouldn't say, why do you keep doing this to yourself? I mean,
yeah,
I have heard that. I know it wasn't from someone at church, but I also want to say, if you're someone that's going through pregnancy losses and someone does say something to you that's rude, don't get upset at them. I think people just want to try to comfort you, and they don't know, that what they said has offended you. But yeah, don't say, why do you keep putting yourself through this?
Oh, that's
because she's wondering the same thing.
Oh, I look up to you a lot because I don't know. I think and God gives you the grace. I tell this to people all the time. God gives you the grace to go through things when you're going through them. And I guess in my mind, a lot of times we think I could never go through that. But then we do go through really hard times in our life and we get through it. We always get through it. God sees us through. God gives you the grace when you're going through it. But I do look up to you a lot because you have decided to leave your fertility in God's hands, whether that be, with a pregnancy ending with a baby or whether that be with a pregnancy ending in a loss. And I really think that takes a lot of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in my mind, I couldn't keep putting myself through that because I have only had a couple and I've taken them so hard when I did go through them. And so I really do look up to women that really have decided, they have a conviction and, they want to please the Lord. And so they're like, I'm going to leave my fertility in God's hands, no matter what that brings. And I really respect and look up to you a lot. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because I've seen you go through it and I've been amazed by your faith and trust in God and just the way that you handle it with grace and, not getting bitter. And I really respect people that don't get bitter at God when they're going through hard times. And I think that's a huge testimony to other women, and I wanted them to see that. So, um, what are some things that women have said? You said, just say, I'm sorry, just say, I'm praying for you. Is there anything else that women can do to help, just in closing?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't like a whole lot of attention. I think when I'm going through something like
Yes,
that, I mean, I
yeah.
have received cards, which I think is really sweet. So,
Yep, I'm the same way. I don't mind, my church ladies tease me all the time because I do gently led, and I tried to get some of them to come on here with me, and they won't. They don't want to be on here. They're like, I'm not like you. You don't mind being the center of attention. It's not that I don't like. It's not that I like being the center of attention. I'm outgoing and I don't mind talking. But when it comes to everyone focusing their attention on me and sympathy, I don't like that either. I don't know. There's a difference. There's a difference between doing a YouTube channel and then even at my baby shower yesterday, I was a little uncomfortable. I don't like everyone watching me open presents and you know what I mean? I don't know. Are you that way?
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean, I think I'm kind of shy. Maybe I don't seem like that online, but in person, I'm pretty shy. So, yeah, anytime something's like a main focus, then yeah, that's not my favorite thing.
know. And we do like birthdays at our church. So even when they had to sing happy birthday and I have to stand and everyone's staring at me, I'm an outgoing person, but I don't like stuff like that. I don't like, I don't know, attention like that, I guess. So I'm kind of the same as you. When I'm going through something hard in my life, for a little bit, just a little bit, I need to just deal with it and get through it on my own. I want to do it in my home, in private. But then when I'm ready, then I don't mind talking about it with other women and, I'm just kind of hashing it out that way. I don't mind that after I've gone through it. But when I'm going through it, I kind of want to be left alone. But just figure out what the person going through the miscarriage wants. Just ask them. I have a policy. I just ask people what I want to ask them. I just go ahead and ask them. They don't have to tell me if they don't want, but just ask them. Say, is there anything I can do to help out? Do you want me to come over and watch your children while you take a nap? Do you want a meal made? Is there anything I can do to help? And maybe they won't mind telling you that there's an area that they want help. Maybe they need groceries picked up or something. So, just try to figure out what they want because everyone's different and try to just honor their requests. So we have a lot of chat. Let me make sure. Jackie Turner said, I am shy too. No, you're not, Jackie. Are you really shy? You're not shy. Kimmy, you were quieter. And when I met you at the Red Hot Preaching Conference last year, you were quieter in person than I imagined you to be.
Yeah. I'm awkward in person though, so I always say dumb stuff.
You were not awkward when you talked to me. But you were quieter than I imagined. So, all right. So I'm not seeing any questions on the chat. So, but thank you very much for being on here. Hopefully this is an encouragement to women that are going through, pregnancy loss. Is there anything that you want to close with?
No, I think we covered everything. But thank you for having me on.
Yeah. And we're everyone pray for you. Now you're going to have a lot more women praying for you. I started a prayer journal just for Gently Led Sisters because God's really been burdening my heart because we get emails. I keep saying we. I guess it's just me now. But I get emails every week. I get private messages every week from women just pouring out their heart when it comes to things like pregnancy and pregnancy loss and marriages and marriage problems. And a lot of women are, they're on the verge of divorce and they're writing me, and I'm trying to give them advice, but I feel very overwhelmed by a lot of it because I feel like there's only so much I can do, and I want to help all of you. That's why this channel is here. We're here because we want to be a help to all you women. And a lot of you are just newly saved, new Christians. So, but I have a special notebook now, and it's just for Gently Led Sisters, and it's all the prayer requests that I'm getting. So I'm really trying to just at least a few times a week, go through it and pour out my heart to God and pray for all of you by name and for your specific needs. So now, Kimmy, you're going to be on there. You're going to be in my book,
Oh, thank
and
you.
I'm going to pray for you. I'm definitely going to pray that, God will give you a pregnancy that ends with a baby. I want that so badly for you. And for all the women on here that have not been able to have a baby, or you're struggling, I'm praying that for you. It is the sweetest thing, and I want that for you very badly. So thank you very much for being on here. You want to say bye?
Bye.
There she is. All right, ladies, next week I might do a topic on potty training. We'll see what happens. So I know a lot of women have been asking me about that. I actually have a pretty good method for potty training. So I might do a mini show Monday next week with that. So stay tuned. And thank you very much, Kimmy, for being on here. Thanks for everyone in the chat. And we will see you next week. Bye.